Well, hello. Welcome to episode 14 of the Blindsided podcast. In this episode, we're talking about why do we lie to ourselves sometimes? And we're going to talk a bit about maybe it's some pain we're looking to hide, or we don't want to address, or we have just something to hide, or we don't want to face something, or we think things should be differently. Hi, my name is Charlie Collins. I am a speaker, a coach, and a best-selling author. And today with me, I have
Okay. Hi, I'm Dawn. uh, I I wrote a book called 12 Steps for Your Non-Addicted Life, which talks about how to use the 12 steps from a lot of 12-step programs in everyday life for anyone. And so some of the principles we'll be talking about today, I think, are very relevant to that. And I'm very happy to be here. Thanks, Charlie.
Hi, my name is Lucas. Charlie, thank you for asking me to be on again. It's really great to be back here. And I have not written any books, but I'm a fellow human being with a lot of experience with lying, and I'm really excited to join everyone for the conversation today.
That's fantastic. I'm going to break us up a little here, go down. There. All right. All right. So I like to open with a little story. And today's story is back when I had my retail business, and it was a business that carried adaptive equipment, daily living aids, and things for people struggling with vision loss. And it could be any form of eye diseases, from legal blindness to blindness. And we had a walk-in retail center, and many people over the years came in, and there was a story that in the beginning, when I worked with people and they came in, I thought, here, I see the problem. You're struggling. You can't read your mail. You can't do certain things. You can't see your TV. I have tools. So let me show them to you. But people at times were like, I don't think anything will help me, and this and that. And I used to get like frustrated because I had the mind that I need to make sales. And you need to buy things, and this will help you. Just stop talking and let's move this forward. But I did some work on self, and I realized that the story they were coming in with was a story I held for a long, long time, that nothing works. They would come in and say, I've tried everything. Everything? There is nothing out there that can help somebody with my eye disease. And I would say, nothing? Now, I would not do that, but my brain would say, I can relate. So I started asking them some questions. So, well, let's assume you've tried everything, but this is a new experience in here, right? You've never been here before. No, I haven't. Okay, great. And do you think anything maybe you thought you knew from your low vision doctors or occupational therapists? And I'm sure they all did great things, but maybe we could move this over to the side in your mind. And is it possible that you could take a fresh look and allow me the opportunity to show you some things that might help you be able to read back then it was a TV guide, their Bible they would bring in, their magazines. And I said, would you be open to just allowing me to show you some things? And when I presented it in a different way, they would say, okay, I guess so. And it was just this door of willingness, just this little crack opened up that maybe there's a possibility that I could. And that's what I wanted them to believe. Now, of course, I would reach my hand out and I would put it on their forearm. I would try to connect with them because I knew exactly where they were. This sucks. I have an eye disease. I haven't been able to. I've really been struggling. No one gets it. I feel alone. I mean, that was my story. And now I wanted to enter that where they were and let them know, first of all, I've been there and I want to help you come to the other side of that. And it was so cool because then I could just with empathy and compassion start showing them different equipment. And I'll tell you, it was most people said, wow, I guess I can use a handheld magnifier or electronic magnifier. I guess I could use a dark writing pen. I guess I could write in really big print so I could see. And it just became, no more was I making a sale. No more was I focused on, I've got to sell stuff. Now I was focused on, how can I best serve? What can I do to help move this person into a position of not believing the lie that nothing works. I've tried everything. Nobody gets it. I'm alone. And it was just an amazing process. I started really liking work again. Anyone else?
Well, you know what that made me, what your story made me think of from your customer's point of view is how difficult it is to have the right amount of hope, I guess, because I think that we we sometimes have too much hope that there's going to be like a magic solution. That's one of the lies we tell ourselves. There's just going to be a quick fix, an easy fix, and we put our faith into some sort of easy fix, and we get disappointed over and over. And then maybe we get to a place where we have not enough hope. And that sounds like where your customers were coming from, where we just then say, well, then, it's hopeless. Forget it. Nothing can help. And the truth that's hard to see is usually somewhere in the middle. There
Mm.
probably isn't like a miracle fix, but there can be lots of small things that tweak, and then we have to put the effort into them in order to get the results out of it.
Yeah, oftentimes in my life, I've put this false veneer of cheerfulness over everything, as opposed to just facing the truth as it actually is. The first example that comes to mind is, say, something like social media. I remember there were some very, very dark times in my life where nothing was going well, where I was deeply unhappy. But if you went on something like social media, you would see things like pictures of me climbing mountains, pictures of me volunteering with people with disabilities. This picture of my life as being very, very cheerful, very, very happy, very, very fulfilling, when in fact it was not. But by manifesting this story, by telling myself this lie that I'm okay when I'm really not, I feel some control over things. It would almost be like if, say, I was on the Titanic and it's sinking into the ocean, and I'm like, the food on this ship is absolutely delicious. There's nothing wrong here. Someone's going to come and save me. So yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point that we often go to this extreme of everything is amazing, or everything is terrible and life is awful. Whereas the truth is usually somewhere more in between, and we have less control over it than we tell ourselves that we do.
And I think you make a great point there, that when we're so focused on pretending that we're at the everything is great extreme, we're unable to ask for and receive the help that might be available, like what Charlie is talking about. You're either pretending like no, everything is fine, or you're convinced that everything is hopeless. And in either one of those states, you can't get the help that is actually available to you.
Excuse me. I experienced it this morning a bit. I turning things on, and I like to get up and test and make sure the camera, and I don't have a picture, and I'm like, gosh, every time this thing never works right. And I'm like, is that true? No, it works most times right. What can I do? See, what I realize that when I fall into this, always happens to me. Or gosh, this is just so difficult. And then I fall, poor me, I'm legally blind. I mean, what, nothing wrong should happen to me. I have it hard enough. And then it's like, but then I get out of that mind, because 95% of us is already conditioning and has beliefs and has all this stuff percolating. So it just like comes out of me sometimes. It's like, wait a minute, is that true? That every day, every time I go to use, no. Okay, what can I do about this? Oh, well, how about restarting? How about shutting the camera off, turning it back on? How about trying a few? And it's just so amazing. I do those simple steps. I don't get myself worked up, and boom, I have a picture now. And it's like, why did that happen? Doesn't matter. It's working now. And I would get so stuck in that stuff, and to where I felt like it wasn't fair. It was happening to me. And eventually I would just stop and give up.
Yeah, those always and never words are pretty much always a lie. Right? Yeah. That whole, like you said, unfair, unfair. Life is unfair to me. I can remember a point where every traffic jam was personal. Why am I always in the traffic? Why am I always in the traffic? And then I learned to um, look at the other side of the highway when they're having a traffic jam. Like that had always been irrelevant to me. Well, there's a traffic jam on the other side of the highway. I'm not in it. So that's irrelevant to me because it's all about me. And now I've learned whenever I see a traffic jam that I'm not in to remind myself, see, it's not always me. There's one that's not me this time. But, we are the most important things in our own lives,
Yeah.
and we frame everything in terms of what's happening to us, what it means to us.
Yeah, I think both of you touched on. I mean, when you sit on a throne of lies, you're grumpy, you're irritable. Um, when I lie to myself, I think oftentimes I'm pushing the discomfort so far down inside myself that it manifests in this very self-seeking hostility, intolerance of not only other people but of myself. It becomes difficult to see things logically. It's if something happens 4% of the time, somehow 4% of the time becomes all of the time. And like, how does that happen? I like to think most of the time that that I'm a logical, reasonable person. But in these moments, my irritability warps that objectivity, and I'm not able to see things clearly. And there's steps that I have to take to try to get back to that objective, reasonable way of seeing the world, so that I'm not a jerk to other people. I'm not grumpy. I'm not yelling at my partner over something small. Because when that happens, when I'm taking things personally, when I'm living in defensive mode, making it all about me, it becomes difficult for me to interact with other people in positive ways because I'm just a grouch.
It sounds like you could rest satisfaction only if you manage them well.
If only other people would do what I want them to do. It's
Gosh, I don't get why they don't get that memo. And and that has been, well, I had a low self-esteem, right? So I didn't self-advocate. My needs were never as important as your needs. And so when I showed up, I kind of looked down. I waited for you to make me feel better, accept me, welcome me into the talk or the circle or the group. And it was a very difficult, and then I would go to the next one, and that next wherever, even shopping in stores, and it's like, gosh, nobody is coming to help me. To this day, no one has showed up at my front door and fixed me. They just, it doesn't ring. I've waited for years. And I've tried to conform and teach people, or in my mind, never really out, because I wouldn't want you to not like me or to think I'm stupid. So let me lie to myself and think you should be somebody else, and that will allow me to feel safe. And no, I couldn't quite telepathically um, get you to see what I was thinking and take action. So I suffered because of it.
Yeah, well, the subject being why do we lie to ourselves? I think that really speaks to the reason why is because it is so much easier. Like in that version in our heads where other people telepathically understand what we want and then do it, that is very easy. Like that would be ideal, would it not? And so we would like to live in that magical world where it's conspiring to make us happy. And the real truth is that we have to take some action. We have to take some steps, that our happiness really depends first and foremost on ourselves and our attitudes towards this world. And what am I doing about it? Like what can I change? What am I doing to change that?
Mm.
But that's hard. And it's just so much easier to live in the lie that someone else is going to do it than to take responsibility for having to do something myself.
Yeah, I remember I was very angry at someone. I had built the justification for my anger on this whole series of lies, and I'm spouting out all this self-pitying stuff. How could you do this to me? How could you add to my torment? Oh, woe is me. Such is the tragedy of being a human being, so on and so forth. And they stopped and they looked at me and said, "You know, I'm not a mind reader, right?" Which set me off on some other train of self-righteous indignation. But the truth is this, I mean, I have found in my life the fundamental dishonesty, the lie that I tell myself is that I know how others should or how they have the capacity to act when I don't. I don't know what other people should do. I don't know the situations, the circumstances that have led them to how they interact and make meaning with the world. I don't. And I go to these extreme lengths to think that I can justify and understand their behavior and read books about human behavior, how to understand other people, which for me is just like a fancy way of saying like how I'm going to judge each and every single person in my life. Um, but if I take a step back and say that, maybe the things that I think are so certain aren't so certain as they seem. And instead of saying, I know how you should act, replace that simply with, I don't know how you should act. I don't know how you should think. You know, really anything in my life, if I adopt this don't know mind mentality about it, it becomes much simpler and it takes away from me that impetus to formulate these lies, these stories around something, because at the end of the day, it's gonna cause pain for me and it's gonna cause frustration for the other person more than likely.
Yeah. And Don, yeah, you said it's hard. I don't like that. Why does everything good or growth or movement in a direction to aim higher in life? Why is everything so hard? And I get, and it's like, because I have a conditioned mind, I've done things a certain way. My most practiced way of living has been a certain way. And then I start waking up to the truth that that's not working. I got to take responsibility for the results of my life. I can't blame. It's not my parents' fault. It's not that teacher in junior year's fault anymore. It's not the person that kind of didn't say hi to me when I walked by them. They were so rude. It's not them that's creating my suffering. It's finally, I woke up to, oh my God, I am where I am in life because of me. Huh. So my troubles, I think of my own making. Oh my Lord. And then it's like, you mean I've made decisions and choices that laid me in the position I was in my life. And it's like, hooray. Does that mean I can change? I can start waking up and making better choices and decisions in my life? Yes. But was it easy? No.
Yeah, I mean, you ask why it's so hard, and I think the answer is because running the entire world is a big burden. Like that's a very difficult thing to do, to be running the entire world. Like what Lucas was talking about, knowing what everybody should be doing at every moment in time. That's like a whole lot of effort. And the funny thing is, it's this whole lot of effort that has no result, right? But it's what our brain is conditioned to do, is figure out, what everybody else should be doing. And then we don't have the ability to make them do that. And so there's no result from it. And so we just try harder and, with the same lack of result. I always think about the serenity prayer, which, gets said a lot about having the courage to change the things we can, and accept the things we can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think about that because for most of my life, I was doing that prayer backwards. I spent all my time trying to change the things I couldn't change, which was other people and circumstances, and no time trying to change the things I could change, which was me and my behavior. And the result was a whole lot of effort that didn't go anywhere. And now that I concentrate more on, well, what can I do in this situation? I find life is a lot simpler, actually. So it seems so hard at the beginning, like to work on ourselves. But once that habit is developed, I think what I've found is that at least I'm only working on one person now and not the entire world. It's actually easier.
Yeah, I mean, the truth hurts. The truth really hurts sometimes, but it's also, I mean, the truth sets us free. I found oftentimes it is difficult to discern what the truth is, and sometimes the truth about something in the moment, my understanding of the truth can change over time. But it is really painful, especially, I've had moments where I've had spirited debate with people, sometimes unspirited, nasty debate with people. But this moment where I begin to recognize, and having a conversation about something that maybe not necessarily that I'm wrong, but that I'm not entirely correct about something, that someone else's perception of some idea or entity is equally valid. And when I move from a place of stopping blaming people, places, and things for my problems, for situations that I don't like, um, and move more towards an attitude of humble inquiry, curiosity about things. But yeah, I mean, it does. You burn up less energy trying to control the uncontrollable, because that's exhausting. I have found that there were times in my life where, like, I went to bed at night and I'm like, why am I so tired? I did nothing today. But I spent my entire day doing things that I didn't have the capacity to do. And yeah, it was exhausting.
Oh, but you did. Synapses and connections in the brain and mental. Why people that are, movers and shakers in a good way. I mean, that are positive, they're enthusiastic, they're honest, they catch when they're starting to go down the path. Why? Because that takes energy. That takes, like, why isn't everyone an author? Because it's hard work. You got to focus. You got to work on this mental part, of life. And I used to build tennis courts, and it was hard work. And then when I'm carrying 80-pound bags, I'm shoveling, I'm doing all this labor all day, but I still could go out at night and do things. And then I own a business, and I'm thinking about how to serve the customers, how to help my employees, how to do this, how to keep the money flowing, and it's like, I am exhausted, and I did not build a tennis court today. It takes a little more energy. And I think we're all can agree that I haven't found a way to hire anybody to do my push-ups yet.
Sadly true. Yes. We have to do the work on ourselves. And I mean, you're right that the mental effort is as exhausting, if not more than physical effort sometimes. Or I think thinking about doing something, procrastinating, figuring out why we actually can't do it right now, working out how it would happen if we did do it, whether that would be like, actually, I think that's the tiring part.
Yeah.
And when we actually get down to do it, whether it's more mental work like writing a book, or more physical work like building a tennis court, that is tiring in like a satisfying way. We sleep well at the end of the night. That kind of effort that Lucas was talking about, where you go to bed at night, you're like, why am I so exhausted? Because all you've done all day is spin in your head, and then actually you still can't sleep, right? Because the head is still spinning. Like, you're exhausted, but then I can't sleep. And I used to have terrible insomnia, and as a result of doing some work with myself, I go to sleep now at night. There's not a lot spinning around in my head, and that's a good feeling.
Yeah, you mentioned procrastination, and I have found even now I still do it a lot, where rather than facing the truth, life on life's terms, things as they actually are, um, avoiding engaging in those questions and that self-reflection, using things like my phone. That's a big one. Say I'm in an uncomfortable social situation and I don't think people are going to like me. I'll pick up my phone, and if you ever see me doing Wordle in a public setting, it's probably because I'm uncomfortable, because I will automatically go to New York Times Wordle, the Wordle puzzle, and do that. So something like using my phone. There have been times where I don't want to deal with some sort of personal situation, so I will bury myself in work. I will work from 6 in the morning until 11 at night just to keep myself distracted. There's been times with, I'll go, one week I was very stressed, so I ate ice cream after dinner every night. So sometimes distracting myself with food.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think for some of us, even using other things like drugs, sex, alcohol, gambling, and those distractions orient our mind in a different direction, but still lurking in our minds is just not dealing with what actually needs to be dealt with. The truth, the next right thing to do. But these distractions, I mean, they're great, for me at least, they're a great temporary fix, but ultimately they're not profitable. They don't move me in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right.
And I like procrastination too.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'm also thinking, like, I'm gonna start, tomorrow I'm not gonna eat ice cream after dinner, because today, for some reason, it's so justified. It's like, I worked outside, I did this, I did so many things right today, even though I had a slip in my mind and I said I was going to start today not eating ice cream. It seems like a stupid idea now. So I think what we'll just do, Charlie, we'll just push that off till tomorrow. And it's like, okay, now I'm at peace with am I really though? And then, but why am I battling? Why am I pushing this off? Is this killing me? Or am I just okay having a little ice cream after dinner every day, or not every day? Or, create a new plan. Stop beating on myself. Why do I think it should be a certain way just because maybe I heard a healthy person, you got to give it up for 30 days. So now I have that belief, and then I beat on myself. It's like, okay, can I be okay with having ice cream? Yes. Do I need to constantly push things off? Or do I need to reevaluate? Where is this coming from? Why am I beating? The hardest person, yes, I used to be, and I still can do it, think, you might want to try it this way. It's better, but I maybe won't say anything, but I might think it. I might even do an eye roll. I might even like walk out of a room, but I know what's best for me in most situations. And I just question my thoughts now. I just ask, is it true? Who would I be? Or how would I feel if I didn't have that thought, or I didn't noodle with that, What happens? How do I react when I believe that thought? Well, I start thinking Lucas should stop looking at his phone and pay attention. It's like, but why, if Lucas pays attention, will I be in a better place? I don't know. I just came to me.
Well, going back to like tomorrow, I think tomorrow is probably one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves. Like, yeah, the only day we have is today, right? So anything about tomorrow, it just isn't real. Tomorrow is a day that doesn't exist. So um, I think, what you were talking about, like re-examining. If there's something that I've been telling myself over and over, oh, I'm going to do this tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Um, Maybe I need to step back and have a good conversation with myself about whether or not that's, is that really my priority?
Right.
Does it need to be my priority? If it's really my priority, why am I not doing it? And if it's not my priority, why do I keep telling myself that I have to do it? Is it because somebody else thinks that that's who I have to be? That's what I have to do? Um, you know, if, but if it is, so it's like, where is that coming from? That voice in my head. I think, the voice in our heads lie to us a lot. They're not always our own voices. They can be voices coming from elsewhere.
Right.
So yeah, kind of like the two-pronged approach of, if I keep putting it off, do I really want to do it? And if I really want to do it, why do I keep putting it off? Like, I got to step back and answer that question.
And I think oftentimes that the reason I'm putting things off, it boils down to fear. Like I'm afraid of something. A lot of the time, particularly